Okay. Good evening. Today is Tuesday, July 27th, 2021, and this is the special meeting with executive session of the Litchfield Elementary School District Governing Board. I call this meeting to order. First on our agenda is item 2A. I will open discussion for our consent agenda items this evening. And if no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I will second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to, give me just 1 second here. To our action and discussion items. Item 3A, we are going to skip over because our consent was approved. The second is the Litchfield Elementary School District planned for reopening in the 21-22 school year, and that is with Superintendent Gunning.
Thank you, President Clymer and members of the governing board. We have an updated school reopening plan. We sent this out for feedback from our community and had taken that in and made the final updates to be able to post this or continue posting it on our website.
Thank you. I will open the floor for any questions or comments for Superintendent Gunning.
I will ask a question. Based on the constantly changing guidance, especially what came out today regarding masks, what is our plan to address that? Or do we have options based on Governor Ducey's orders?
We are mandated to follow his guidelines, so he would supersede whatever the CDC recommendations are. So we would just wait and see if he makes any adjustments or changes to his guidelines.
Okay, so as it stands in this reopening document and moving forward, masks will be optional for both staff and students and anyone else that wants to join on campus. Okay,
Correct.
any other questions or comments? I'll just say one, as a 29, I think, page document, there's a lot of information here. But for anyone that sat down and read it, there's a lot of thought and energy that went into it. And there's been many revisions, and probably this year we'll go through those iterations before. So thank you, Jody, and your staff for being diligent and being and really understanding all of the changing guidance and everything going into this. So I assume we will see this again in the next couple of months, but for now, this looks really good. So if there's no other comments or suggestions, I will entertain a motion on the reopening plan for 21-22.
I move to approve the LESD plan for reopening 2021-22 as presented.
I will second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 3C, which is a recommendation to approve the pro statement for the maintenance and operation budget override election to be held on November 2nd. I was not at the last meeting, but I did want to address two specific concerns, well, three concerns actually, that I heard from the meeting to make sure that this third draft is where we want to go. It is important that we approve this tonight, so let's just have any discussion about what we need to do. In front of you, you'll notice there's a hand carry item that's dated today, 7/27. If you look at the bottom, the draft 3, the clean version, this is the revised version that is up for approval tonight. I want to call your attention to two things. One, there was some small edits made to be under the 200 word limit. So that's what you see from above. There's just a few changes to ancillary words to make sure that we're under that guideline. Secondly, we added in the third paragraph down that starts, "This is not a tax increase." We added the information about the current override being at 15% in the years we've had that. And then previous it was 10% based on some comments last time. So please make sure that you note those and make sure those were what you intended. The other comment, I believe Dr. Armstead, you had asked for last time, let me pull up my notes, was to mention the mental health supports. I wanted to bring this up specifically because I think, number one, I think it's really important, obviously, the work that we do with mental health and that we're offering. Unfortunately, I I will say I don't think it's appropriate in this letter because the funding that we receive from this override doesn't go to support those efforts in this district. We use other money to do that. So we are doing that, but this money specifically, and I wanted to make, I did some research. I wanted to make sure that that was true before I said that. So the items listed up for the override funding come this November are as follows. Retain and recruit effective teachers and staff, maintain teacher staff and pay, maintain a nurse at each school, maintain special area programs such as PE, music, band, art, maintain focus intervention programs, reading specialists, intervention specialists, instructional coaches, behavior coaches, student advisors, et cetera, and maintain athletic programs. So all of that funding is to fund the teacher salary and staff salaries that go to pay for those things. Not to say that our district does not support mental health and we don't have those supports in place. I'm just not comfortable putting it in the letter because this funding isn't used to do that. So I just want to be really clear with voters what they're voting on. But I'll open the floor for any comments. Those were the 3 suggestions that I had made in this document that's in front of you. Jeremy?
I have real problems with it.
Okay.
We don't address academics and the fact that the current level of academic achievement is not acceptable, that we should be striving to do better. And this repetition over of A-rated, I know we want to look good, and this is to try to get people, induce them to vote for an override. However, people are not stupid, or some people out there are not, are kind of aware of what's going on and just sort of ignoring what is the elephant in the room. I don't think is a very effective strategy for marketing. And so.
Do you have a specific recommendation for what you would like to see written?
Well,
or what changes you would like to make?
I believe I sent one in, but at the very minimum, an acknowledgement that we're not where we should be, where we want to be, and that we are going to put it as our top priority to change that and actually come up with some action and do that.
I would suggest taking a step back and just reminding all of the board members what the purpose of this statement is and what just to reiterate what you just read, which was the list of items that these funds are used toward. Could you give us a summary of that, President Clymer?
Yeah, what the items are used for?
Well, no, the purpose, like what is the purpose of this statement? Why are we making this statement? And what is that used for? To make sure everybody knows what the purpose of this statement is.
Sure, absolutely. When there's things on the ballot, there is a pamphlet that goes out to all voters. And there are, as a board, we voted to put this on the ballot. So therefore we are obviously in favor of getting this override because we voted as a board to approve that. So we are writing a pro statement for the pamphlet to educate voters on why we are asking for these funds and what is the reason that we think they are necessary.
So you mentioned a few other things. You said something about keeping the teacher's salary, and there's one more thing. What was that other thing that you mentioned?
Retain, effective teachers and staff, staff pay, a nurse at each school, maintain special area programming. This is staff for PE, music, band, art, et cetera, intervention programs and all the staff that goes with that, and athletic programs.
So the intervention thing and the athletics, would it be necessary to add that into the document so that they have a clearer view of like how far this funding is going to stretch, or is it a word limit that it's not allowed? We can't put that in there.
Well, there is a word limit, so I will say that. I don't think that we're totally available to switch the words that are used. But in the bullet point, it says support important programs, including physical education, music, and arts. And so I think the PE is covered under that, or athletic programs. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but I mean, we could add an additional bullet point if you wanted to, and specifically about the interventionist.
Well, not necessarily just intervention. I'm thinking like
Oh.
if we add another bullet point on like including it with teacher salary, because that's a huge thing right now in Arizona, and then looping in somehow all of that in like just one sentence. Because I mean, this stuff is important, but I think in light of everything going on nationwide, they want to know also that this is going to help teacher salary. Because then they'll be more in support of it, knowing that this is going to go help teachers.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, I think that's fine. I need specific language or how, how that would be worded, or we need to approve this tonight. So I'm open to suggestions, and looking at that, we'll figure out how to do that under the 200 word limit. But we'll need to figure that out here together, exactly what we want to say.
I have a suggestion that
Okay.
might work to cover that point. Here in this is not a tax increase paragraph, we say the current 15% override has been in place for 4 years. Previously, the override was for 10%. We could add a sentence to say, we will continue to fully commit the additional 5% to salaries. Because I know that was the selling point that we made when we asked for that additional 5%, was that we were going to dedicate that, even so much that I know that is outlined separately on pay stubs so that everyone knows exactly what that is. So that might be a way to reiterate that extra 5% that we are now utilizing is going directly towards salaries. I don't know the best exact way to say that, but
Okay. Any other suggestions?
Did you say it has to pass tonight?
It does. There's a deadline of August 6th, and so we're not meeting again before that. So we all need to approve it this evening.
You were at 198 characters before, so just if you're
Okay,
counting.
thank you.
Counting.
Okay. Okay, so in terms of committing the extra 5%, I understand completely what you mean. I'm concerned about people in general, or voters in general, not understanding what that extra 5% means. And I'm not sure the best way to put that. I just want to make sure we're not asking for 5% more, right? It's already included in what we're asking for. So
no, I agree. It's kind of confusing enough.
And I'm not sure it's going to help anyway, putting that in.
We just add a bullet point that would say maintain teacher salaries, or continue current teacher salary, or something to keep it as few words as possible as well.
okay.
Well, it says retain and recruit and retain effective teachers.
Yes.
To me, it's pretty obvious that that's money going to teachers. So I don't know how adding more is going to make it less clear, I think.
Well, I
In
think
my
Dr.
opinion.
Armstead wanted to make sure that we're addressing teacher salaries specifically.
Well, it looks like it is. It's the first item.
It doesn't say salary anywhere there. I think there's lots of things that can go into that, but
Let's see.
Well, I make a motion that we just pass it as is.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, there's no second. I'll open back up for conversation. So Jeremy, with that motion, you're saying that you're satisfied with this with no additional changes?
Well, I don't think I'm going to vote for it, but I'm a minority of one. I think it's for what you guys want. I think I don't think we're going to improve on it. That's all I'm saying. I'm just being a realist.
Okay, I mean, I'm just making it known, if you have specific changes or specific wording that you want in here, now is the time to say it so that we can word it in. If
Okay.
if this is a compromise and you're okay going as is, then that's okay. I just want to go down the line with everyone. Dr. Armstead, you brought up the teacher salary. Is there specific language that you would like to see in here, or do you feel like that first bullet point is enough?
I was looking at this just because they said it was 198 words. So if the sentence that says, as governing board members, we understand excellent schools, da, 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 da. If we cut out the play an important role and just say, we understand excellent schools are important in building strong communities. And then we take out the override was for 10%. Then we can add where it says recruit and retain teachers, comma, and competitive salaries. Because again, the mention of salaries is so that people understand right now the importance of teacher salaries. Like that is a huge discussion right now nationwide. So I don't know.
Okay. Melissa, Kim, your thoughts on adding and competitive salaries to the first bullet?
I was gonna actually recommend possibly adding something but along the lines of continuing to offer competitive salaries. I know we have to shorten it, but.
Okay. Kim?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do need to include the sentence previously, the override was for 10%, because we have a lot of longstanding folks here that remember those days and would like to see a lower tax bill. So I want us to be transparent with that, and I like that wording. But I do think that we could capture what Dr. Armstead would like to say by just expanding that bullet to say, yeah, along the same lines, recruit and retain effective teachers by continuing to offer competitive salaries, or by offering competitive pay, or whatever we can do to squeeze a couple more words in there.
Okay. Let me offer this just in terms of good use of our time. I think I understand what the needs are in terms of those words. If there's no other changes, what I'd like to motion to do is to approve with this change and allow the staff at the district to massage the 3 words in the sentences or the paragraph above to make that work out with the 4 words that we need to add.
I have wording change for the second sentence.
Okay.
Replacing, in addition to all the way to stellar, I would like to replace those words with, we will strive to improve academic achievement and continue our stellar reputation, going back to for being one of the most fiscally responsible in the state.
We will strive to improve academic achievement and continue our stellar reputation.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Comments on that addition?
It actually is replacing 11 words with only 10. So it makes it shorter by 1 word.
Well, I'm not sure when it comes to a statement like this, if we want to talk about something that we're striving to do, or we want to talk about facts that we've already done. I'm not sure from the election standpoint, kind of what the tense of words and impact of that is. Do you have any comments on that, President Clymer, based on your experience with campaigns?
Say that one more time.
To say we will strive, I feel like that's more of a future something we're going to try to do. And I think based on my experience with campaigns, in this statement, we're trying to state facts. And so, but I could be wrong on that, but that's generally what we try to state in a pro statement, is stick with where we are today, history, stating the facts.
Well, the way it is right now, it makes it sound like it's already wonderful. The academic, educational excellence. And it says, in addition to academic achievement, like we're there, and we're not there. We're not. We got almost half of the kids are not proficient at reading and math. Okay, so
I guess
We're
I
not-
disagree with that.
what?
I disagree with that statement.
You
We
disagree
are-
with the assessments, the
No.
annual testing?
I disagree with your assessment that stating that we have been widely recognized for educational excellence. That is a fact.
Well, I don't know. That's subjective, I guess, but to people that are a little bit, I don't consider we're not even close to the best district in the state, and we're already a very low achieving state. And we don't have any one of the best schools in the state. So, I mean, I think everybody strives to improve in every way, every day. If you don't, then why, so I don't think this is this is just obvious.
Danielle, did you make a motion? Were you motioning that earlier to approve it with the changes the district will fix the wording?
Before this conversation, yes, there was a motion, but there was no second. I motioned to, just before this change came about, I motioned to just change the first bullet to competitive salaries and allow the staff to reduce the first paragraph or the second paragraph by 3 words.
I second.
Okay. Motion is to, just to reiterate, motion is to change the first bullet to recruit and retain effective teachers by offering competitive salaries. The addition of those 4 words will be taken from either the second or potentially the last paragraph where there's maybe some additional words, and we elect staff to be able to do that on our behalf. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed. Nay.
Okay,
Better pay, but not better academics. Wow.
motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the recommendation to approve the superintendent performance-based compensation goals for 21-22. I know this was also talked about at the last meeting, which I did not attend, so I'll open the conversation. I'll open the conversation again for discussion, and we will make a decision tonight. One thing I did want to say after listening to the transcript of the meeting was I wanted to make it maybe more clear, especially for our new board members that didn't go through the process of the strategic plan. This was designed a few years back, and the way that we designed the strategic plan with help from staff and community and teachers and parents, and everybody went through this with us for months as we approved this, was to create a scorecard effect where we had large overarching goals at the top. They would move down to measurements and strategic actions as we went down. And that is not only what Jody will be evaluated on, which we just did last month, but also schools have their own scorecard, principals, et cetera. That's how that all rolls down. So from the previous discussion, it looked like, or it sounded like maybe there was some concern about the goals being too broad and too big. And I just wanted to remind everyone that the goals that Jody has to pick from based on the way the scorecard was designed are the goals that are in our strategic plan that was approved by our community. So the goals that you see here on the front here are the goals of our district from the 5-year point when we started the strategic plan till 2024, when we are ready to do another strategic plan. So I will leave it at that. If there's any questions about that process, I'm happy to answer them. But the goals that were selected or that we see here in our agenda are the ones that the superintendent has selected to focus on this year. And by the end of 2024, all of the goals in this strategic plan should have been addressed, is the way it should work. So I'll leave it at that and then open conversation on the annual goals that are presented in front of us.
For the service goal, it says communicating academic progress. To me, it reads, and if you want to clarify, you can. To me, it reads that that's the only communication is going to be academic progress. Is that the case, or is there a way to make that clear that it's just general communication that is going to be very consistent to the community?
Jody, I'll let you answer that.
We have standards set for like the general communication that are in place on an ongoing basis. But typically with academics, we didn't necessarily have an outline standard for that. Like with middle school, they could always check with parent view, but not necessarily maybe a direct communication coming out. And an elementary, more like parent-teacher conferences are at those times of the year or when there's progress reports. So in this goal, it would be working with principals, like kind of some committees basically to help me, like with principals and teachers, to really design what does that look like and how do we gain consistency across the district so that the expectation, if a parent were to change, let's say from Heck to Verrado Middle, they would know that, oh, this is that time of year. I know I'm going to be receiving something directly from my teacher.
Okay, so basically there's no concern in the area of just general communication. Right now, it's just the academic piece. Okay.
Well, and what I would add to that, Dr. Armstead, is just because these are goals doesn't mean everything else is going to fall to the wayside, obviously. I mean, we're going to maintain everything that we've been doing. And then this is maybe an area that we say, okay, we think we can do better in communicating academic progress. And so that's something that Superintendent Gunning is going to work toward with specific measures and actions to make sure that that happens, because that was something that we realized when we started this process of looking at the strategic plan that was something that could be improved. And we really haven't addressed that yet. And I actually think this particular goal is perfect for this year because we know there's going to be a lot of communication and improved communication that's going to be needed for the whole child, of course, as we will always continue to focus on, but definitely on the academic piece as well.
Yeah, Dr. Armstead, I agree with you. I mean, I think while this looks specific to academic, I think obviously, more communication of any kind, not only to, through our students and academically, but to our parents about what's going on and things like that should absolutely be happening. So while I think this is a new focus that maybe hasn't been focused on previously in terms of that academic progress, I think all the rest of that, if not more, should also, continue to be the focus of the district wide. So I agree with that. Jody, before we move to motion and all of that, will you just remind us in terms of the measures and the strategic actions, how the scorecard is filled out and like what's the timing of that so that once these are approved, then how that moves down?
So depending on the specific goal, then would determine of who I work with in determining what the measurements would be, how would we track that, how would we progress monitor, and what strategic actions we would put into place. As you can see, there are several here this year that are very specific from a school level. So we would need to get that teacher input as well as the principal input on what does that look like? And so what strategies will we be putting into place? And then how are we going to monitor those?
Okay. I'll also remind the board members that in our Friday update, links to this scorecard as it gets filled out, I believe is at the top or in one of the top sections. So you can click on that at any time and you can see what the measurements are, what the strategic actions are. And then as things are accomplished throughout the year, they're added to this scorecard. And we'll bring it back up to different meetings throughout the year. But I mean, it's always a good reminder that on the Friday updates, the link to the scorecard is there. And so we can always see, kind of monitor that progress as things are happening. and be able to talk with Jody in our one-on-ones about what's going on. Okay, so
Can I ask one more clarifying question? If we approve this tonight, the goals, then is there another conversation that happens about the measures? So for example, for the goal number 1 under people, maintain a high retention rate of employees. Historically, we've touted, like I think right now we're at 90%. Historically, we've been 92, 93. Do we get input on what that measure should be? Do we have a conversation about that at some point?
Usually what typically happens is when I provide updates, we just talk about what strategies that we're utilizing and then what measurements we're using. And then individually, sometimes you've given input of additional data that you felt would represent that, or that would be helpful to show that measurement, as well as definitely at the mid-year evaluation. A lot of times it has come up where something's come up where like, oh, I think this would actually be a better representation of success of that piece.
So I guess I feel like we should have more input into the measures. Does that make sense to other board members? That obviously anyone who's doing a written evaluation of themselves, you wouldn't set your own measures for success and then gauge yourself against that. Someone else would help you set those, or maybe I'm confused.
no, I totally agree with that, but I feel like there is a next step to this, and maybe I'm not, maybe I don't understand.
Well, the
We do
boards-
see this again, right?
Yeah, you usually see it again, but the board's approval is of the goals. That is the level of the board. Remember that 30,000 foot level? And then it goes down to me to determine the strategies and the measurements to show that we've achieved those goals. Share them with you, of course, so that you get to see them, but the only approval piece is this piece, and then we move forward.
This is the same situation. I mean, what we believe academic excellence is number 1. That's wonderful. Student success, empower all students to reach their highest potential. Now, on the goals, nurture a positive relationships between teachers and students. Well, that should be a given. That shouldn't be a goal. That should be a given. What are teachers going to be mean to students or what? I don't understand that. A goal would be to improve our academic achievement according to the metrics that the state has adopted. And that needs to be a goal. Everybody's accepting that we're just wonderful because we're A-rated and we have academic excellence when we don't.
That goal is always there. So that is something that we do nonstop. So that goal never goes away.
But it's not happening. That's the thing, is it's just not happening. And there's no specific methodology. So if you set a goal that we're going to do better than we're doing now, significantly better, now what that forces you to do is to find a method. We've got a lot of teachers, we got a lot of people, we got a lot of brain power around. And not only that, there are other schools that are doing it. This is not, we don't have to invent the wheel. It's already existing, but we need to find ways to apply it to our particular environment here. But we don't have a goal that's saying that it just sort of says, well, we're going to do the best we can do, but we're not that's not a goal. A goal is saying by next year or by whatever time, we are going to reduce the average EL from so many years to a third less. We're going to improve our overall academic achievement averages by X percentage, something. You may not meet it, but if you don't set it, it's guaranteed you're not going to meet it. And that is what I feel is going on right now.
And Jeremy, I know it's confusing because this is based on the strategic plan, and that was developed within the staff, the community, and all of those pieces. So that's just that one sliver of my job. So on the other big part of the job, we definitely do have academic goals that we set as an organization. We do have ELL goals that we set. And you'll hear about all of those pieces and the attainment when we sit and do, like Brian comes in and does the data to give you guys detailed information about our data, and then talks about what the goals are for each. And then each school also has their own goals in relation to their data and what their achievement is, because every school is a little bit different in looking at those as well, and as well as in their ELL numbers too.
Well, with all due respect, that's just not a credible answer. And if it was a credible answer, then why not put it here? Why not have it so that this is the thing that when you click on the website, you go look at what the goals are, what we're about, not a bunch of mumbo jumbo down the road, however it turns out. And it is a very simple thing to say, we're going to increase the goals. We can debate about what percentage should increase. We can debate all kinds of things, but to just sort of say, well, you, the public out there, we're not going to tell you what the goal is because we kind of have it. We're going to shuffle it in the, different schools or whatever. Just overall school district, overall school district. It's out there, but LESD is doing an excellent job of hiding it.
Jeremy, I'd like to offer that I think when these goals were designed and reviewed and approved by our community, I mean, it wasn't just us sitting up here that came up with these goals. This was a months-long process where we went through, reaching out to all stakeholders to help us develop these goals in this process. So it's not just us hiding anything. I mean, this was a community-wide effort that we did years ago to put this together. But I'd also like to just offer the suggestion that while I think the numbers are important, and I think what you say is true in the sense that we do need to always focus on academic achievement. I think that's the underlying root of everything that we should do. But I would argue that nurturing positive relationships and ensuring a student-centered focus is a methodology to get us there. You may disagree with that, but that's one point that I would like to make. The reason these goals were designed is because I think a lot of people think there's a lot more to teaching kids and having kids be academically successful than a percentage number.
Well, it's just a simple matter of whether it's important or not. Is kids reading important? If kids don't learn to read, they're 4 times greater chance of dropping out of high school. Kids that drop out of high school are 10 times more likely to end up committing crimes. So this is just not something that's an opinion. It's the purpose of our schools. And we have people that are raising children. I'm sure those people don't want to be, they want to have their kids have the best shot at life. And if only 57%, that means 43% of them are not proficient at reading, then they're not going to have a good shot at life. So, we're not to sit here and say, well, you gave out surveys and whatever, and this is what you come up with. There's a moral duty for anybody to do a good job. You go to a doctor, they need to heal you. They don't just say, well, we're doing what, and the job here is to educate. It's to prepare.
And I think we are
kids.
doing that. I think we are doing that. We are educating children.
Well, then what about the 43% that are not proficient at reading? What about them? Explain that to me. Please clarify to me that in the big realm of figures, that's almost half of kids are not proficient at reading. So what do you say about that? We're doing a good job. I hear that over and over everywhere. It's all in your literature. We're wonderful. We're A+, whatever. I walked all over in the summer to go get signatures. I didn't have educational affairs to go to or whatever to get on the school board. I got a life that's very complicated and busy, and right now it's being ruined. And I did it because I believe passionately that kids, you give them the right information, you give them the motivate, they can excel beyond anyone's expectations. And
I don't think anybody
history
disagrees
shows
with
that
that.
happens all the time, but it's not happening at Litchfield Elementary School District. So I get up and say, well, why don't we go look at what's going on in Alhambra? I get mocked and say, oh, well, it doesn't fit. Well, there's 30 other schools out here. There's about 15 other school districts. All of them are achieving way better than Litchfield Elementary School District. Not every one of them is, wonderful. We're probably more prosperous than a lot of them. It's not my job to go out and find it. I know that it can be done. I know it can be done.
Okay, let's refocus
Can
on
I-
this. Do you have a specific goal that you would like to see here or to replace these with?
We will strive to improve academic achievement. Let's put that for goal number 1. If we don't have positive relationships between teachers and students, then we need to be bringing some teachers in for some tough talk or getting some other teachers.
Well, again, these goals
That's
were
their job,
designed
but our
to,
goal should be, we will strive to improve our academic achievement. I'd like it even better if we put a number. Let's take our AIM scores and bump them up 5% by the end of this next year.
well, that would really be a measure. And that would be something that Superintendent Gunning could add as a measure of the achievement of these goals. Because to President Clymer's point, I agree that there is more to all the pieces of this puzzle that you see in front of you than a score on one test. So that's a piece of the puzzle and a piece of the measurement, but all of these things go into that. So I don't think it's fair to prioritize that as a goal. That would be a measurement of success.
The piece of the
Not a
puzzle
goal.
is, can kids read and can they do math? That's the puzzle, okay? You can put whatever pieces you want on it, but the whole puzzle. And I'll tell you something. Nobody seems to be interested in academics. And I'll tell you, when I first got on board, I looked at the first board meeting and I look and I see crayons. I went, is this a nursery school? It's embarrassing. I mean, I'm sure some nice person helped do the mural, but it's like, that's your expectations. You're showing kids that are looking at this district, and rather than, are they going to be a doctor? Or are they going to be go in space? Are they going to invent something or cure a disease or whatever? Is crayons.
Okay,
And
I think we are
honestly,
way
that's-
off base here.
I would
No,
like to
it's
say
not.
something,
It's
please.
what is our goal?
I would
Is
like
a
to
school
say
district.
something.
What is our goal?
Jeremy,
Okay,
would you
go
let
ahead
Melissa
and
speak,
vote,
please?
And you're done. I understand what we got here, but someday maybe somebody will wake up and besides me and realize that we need to educate our kids and we're not
Okay,
doing it.
Thank you,
Amen.
Jeremy. Melissa?
I would like to address the goal of nurturing the relationship between students and teachers. This last year, when we were closed and we had to do digital learning, we heard from lots of parents and community members about how our students were disconnected. They weren't connected with the people that they were in school with. They weren't connected with their teachers. So now that our kids are going back, we need to ensure that our students have built that connection back that may have been missing. That I think this is an important goal for this year because we need to make sure that our students are re-engaged if they've been disengaged. We need to make sure that they feel safe, because when they feel safe, they are able to learn and grow, and they are able to meet those academic goals we set for them. And like President Clymer said, and Ms. Moran, is that it's all connected. So all of us want academic success for our students. Academic success looks different for every student. It's not the same, and we need to remember that as well. But if we remember that nurturing a positive relationship right now is important and we work on that, our students will show that academic success.
Dr. Armstead, any comments? No? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I motion to approve the superintendent goals as presented.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 3E, the governing board may recess into executive session. I will move that we recess into executive session.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. All right, I will entertain a motion, or I will motion that we, thank you. I'm sorry, Stevie. I motion that we reconvene our special meeting and exit the executive session.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the last item, item 6A, is to provide direction to the attorney for the public body regarding superintendent contract as per executive session. I will move that we direct our attorney to prepare the contract as discussed in executive session.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I motion to adjourn.
All right,
I will second.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that, Ms. Moran. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.